Trey, no, we're live, man, now. So we're having all kinds of fun already. Talking ball and having horrible internet connections. So but we'll
This
we'll
is
just
great.
keep it flowing, right?
That's right. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be
Well,
here.
man, yeah. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the Books for Guys podcast today. As man, I've been following you on LinkedIn for a while. I don't even know how long now, but man, I just enjoy your post. That's kind of why I don't know how I came across your profile, but the post about your kids, your family, your business, and how you're building Herald, and just the struggles you had getting to this point in your career, the ups, the downs, what you've learned. For those listening, if you don't follow Trey on at least LinkedIn, you should, because he posts a lot of really cool, inspirational, and just down to earth stuff that I'm sure a lot of people are going through if they're trying to figure out how to grow a business or grow a company.
Yeah.
So, man, I know you're busy, so I appreciate you coming on and joining us today.
Yeah, man. It's a pleasure to be here, Chris. I realized a long time ago that I'm a person of faith. You don't have to, hang out around me, but about 9 seconds before you figure out that's kind of what's going down. But I realized a long time ago that I could be my whole self in the professional realm too, and it would be okay. Like at the end of the day, who was supposed to like it would like it, who wasn't supposed to like it wouldn't like it. And you know what? It's a big old world out there, and there's plenty of opportunity. And I choose to see a cup that overflows no matter how hard the day gets, and just kind of live from that, try and live from a place of gratitude and expectation, not from a performance standpoint, but from an expectation of like, man, I know how it ends. So it can be hard for a moment, but I mean, it's all good in the end. And we've had our fair share of hard for sure. It's not this life is not an easy one, man. But I think I'm at where I'm at right now, coming in a hard season, a different kind of a hard season. Um, my wife the other day was just saying, "Hon, I was thinking 17 years. I don't know when it was easy." And I was like, "Wow, that was a blow." She's like, "No, I don't mean it. I don't mean it in a place of like, look at you." It's more of like, it's just maybe that's how it's supposed to be. Like the idea of us being refined and becoming who we're called to be, who we're supposed to be, means we have to kind of always be going through stages of hard because we're being polished, we're being refined. And I really do try and I try and both walk in expectation that refinement is coming, and I also try and leave breadcrumbs for those behind me on similar paths to just let them know what I learned in that
Yeah.
process, And I mean, I think we're going to talk about my book a little bit today, and that's ultimately sort of what led me to saying, how do I how do I help more people? Because the truth is like, man, our company does well by my standards. It's like it's plenty, and at the same time too, inside of the company, I can only work with so many people, but I feel this call to help a lot of me's, a lot of people that are trying to build. So anyways, that's how we even end up on the path to even starting writing the book anyway. So,
Yeah.
but thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. That's the reason I wanted you to come on the podcast because, again, we're trying to encourage more young men to get into the routine of reading and continuous learning, and
Love it.
I talk about the importance of books because if they are going through if they're trying to build something, if they're struggling with something in life, if they're trying to be the best athlete that they can, well, there's all these blueprints and books out there that people have written that have given you the exact steps and the exact experiences that you're probably going through. And so, having people on here like yourself to talk about that stuff is just one of those
Mhm.
reasons we want guys to see what Trey has experienced and what Trey has struggled with and where Trey's at now, though, and but what all it took to get there. And you're still working through it, and you're still saying, "Hey, still, not every most days are not easy." But showing young guys that and what they're, as they're trying to grow up and do things. That's the purpose of all this. And so, appreciate you being so vulnerable with yourself and your family and posting about all that because I think it's inspirational personally. Again, I'm always like, dang, so this is going on in Trey's life. This is going on in Trey's life. Hey man, keep it up, man. You're going things. You keep going. And I see all the other support you get too. So that's awesome. Um, but then yeah, and then
Absolutely.
obviously finally your book came out, and I was like, all right, Trey, maybe Trey will take a meeting with me now. I got get him on the Books for Guys podcast. We'll talk about his book. That's my end to talking with Trey.
Amen. Absolutely. Yeah, man,
Yeah.
I yeah, for those that don't know, we have a son that is just we have 2 kids, and I will tell you, I'm realizing a lot lately that, sometimes I over-index and talk about our son a lot. He's all kids are gifts. They're all unique. He just happens to be pretty medically unique, which just makes it we've had to learn a lot of lessons related to our son. His name is Bear, to Bear's life and parenting a kid that's just really unique in a lot of senses of the word. And it's been interesting lately because we're in a season now where there's more stability than there's been in Bear's life in a while, which is a blessing.
Mhm.
Um, and then my little girl has kind of picked up the entrepreneur bug that I have, and all year she's been like, I realized it was her way of trying to get my attention because she feels like I give it to my son a lot or I give it to my business a lot or my wife a lot or our church a lot or my Georgia Bulldogs, which we were
Yeah.
talking about earlier a lot when that comes around, or my golf game a lot. It's like all these other things that I have. And she's like, Dad, we should start a business together. And so we have, which has been a really interesting little experience. We're doing a little dirty soda pop-up shop together, which is great, teaching her principles and money management, all kinds of things. Um, but I will tell you, like, that is probably like having come out of a 15-month period of self-publishing a book. And, a little bit about me, I've worked for some of the biggest known authors in the business industry generally. I ran growth for John Maxwell for a while. I ran growth for Dave Ramsey for a while. I ran growth for Ryan Levesque for a while, for Brendan Burchard, Darren Hardy, all New York Times bestsellers. Like, I've been
Sure.
around
Big names.
lots and lots of big names, lots of book launches. I know what that looks like from the inside when one's coming together. And I'd always felt like maybe I would do one day. And what started for me was I started it last year in May, and I got about 3 months in, and we entered a period with Bear that got really, really hard, and I just kind of put it on the shelf. It's about 30 pages in when that happened. And when this year turned its corner, uh, I was like, you know what? It would be a lot easier for me to do a podcast than to do a book. So I started a podcast, and when I got into the rhythm of creating the podcast, I realized it was so much easier to write the book because I was creating this podcast and thinking about if I were to die and it was 10 years from now and my kids were to find something, discover something about me, like more than what I know, or what I experienced, like how was I as a guy, like as a leader, as a dad, as a husband, as a father, as somebody that's building businesses and trying to do it in the right way. And it was this spark in me of almost like, oh, no, 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 you got to go back and get it done. Like they need to be able to have all of it. And so honestly, I wrote the book for 2 people, really, really 3 people. The 2 people are my kids. This just
Yeah.
so they have a chronology of what their dad went through to kind of get to where he is. And then I wrote it for 10 years ago, me, that, my story is a really unique story in that I did not start in internet marketing. My profession, I went to seminary. I was a pastor and a high school football coach and a Bible teacher in a private school for 4.5 years. And started tinkering with internet marketing because my wife expressed an interest in staying home once we started having kids. And I'm looking at what I'm making at the school going like, well, the 3 of us are not going to be able to live off $29,000 a year, which is what I was making full time. And so the only industry that I could figure out how to create income in that would allow me to keep my day job, because I was so passionate about my day job, was something that would work like really late at night. And I'm like, well, this internet marketing thing, it can like make me money while I sleep. And so I started tinkering with it, and through a crazy series of events, we both ended up losing our jobs, somewhat expectedly. It's a story for another day, but also somewhat unexpectedly. What basically happened is I got a job in Nashville, of all places. We were living in Atlanta, but I got a job at a Christian school in Nashville and was going to move. And since I turned my notice in to my school in Atlanta and got this job in Nashville, of course, they had to replace me at the school in Atlanta because I was moving to Nashville. And of course, my wife was going with me. So they had to replace her. And then the job in Nashville fell through because of a 100-year flood that happened here in 2010. And it's a whole crazy story. Like, no, it was out of everyone's control. And here we are sitting in June and don't have a job in Nashville and don't have a job in Atlanta, only have this little internet funnel, and we're on food stamps and in a ton of debt. And it's like, well, what do we do? And from that moment to 10 years later, I became the CMO of a $25 million plus global company in the span of 10 years. And it was a crazy ride over the next 10 years of just reading,
Yeah.
learning, asking incredible questions, paying attention, always taking notes, and keeping what I call an elastic mindset. Like, there is nothing that can happen to me that I can't bounce back from. That's what I mean by an elastic mindset, and just stay with it. And I had a recent mentor say to me, "Hey, you know," he did the old trolling thing. I make a post. It's just 2 jobs ago. It was right when I started Herald, and he's like, "Man, you know, you sure have changed jobs a lot in the last 13 years." And I responded to him. I said, "Oh, no, 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 no. I've been doing the same job for 13 years. I've just changed who I was doing it with and who I was doing it for. But don't get it twisted. I've been doing the same thing relentlessly for 13 years, which is ultimately where the premise of the book, The Compass Method, came from. It was this growth framework that I sort of discovered on this journey of learning how to do it in a way that no book could teach you. It's like trial by fire. Like this, if I were to look back over the 50 best campaigns I've ever been responsible for, ever running, and I were to distill them down to their core parts, what would be left over in the fire? It would be these steps. Like, these steps would have been similar. And I'm looking at it going like, there isn't anyone out there that I've ever learned from or listened to. They don't have a school for CMOs. It's not a major. Yeah, you can major in marketing, but when you major in marketing, you're learning marketing from professors that did marketing a decade ago or 2 decades ago. And the world is a completely different world today than it was when they were doing it. And I started going like, even the kids that are entering school now in 2025, they're going to get a degree in marketing in 2029 that is going to be completely ineffective for what marketing is in 2029, because practitioners that are like really doing it right now are the ones that understand what's working now. And that's the greatest trend in marketing, is what's working now, not what was working then. And so anyways, long story short, the ending title, the original title of the book was going to be Modern Marketing Mastery, the 10-year shortcut nobody told me about. And it was going to be like, hey, this is how you shave 10 years off. Forget all that stuff. Just do this stuff. And then, you know, ultimately, again, a mentor of mine was like, no, 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 no. You need to subscribe to the Dave and John way, and you literally need to give it away. Because I wasn't going to put my method in the book.
Yeah.
I was going to make it all this superfluous chit chat. And then like, oh, if you want to learn about the method, you should call me, you know, that kind of a thing. They're like,
Mhm.
nah, you should give it away. So I wrote whatever it is, 185 pages of exactly, if you were to hire Trey Sheneman to say, I want to grow this business. I'm looking over your shoulder. This is the exact buttons and process that I would push, make the business go up and to the right. It is zero bad. And honestly, when I got done with it and I got the first one after crying a little bit, if I'm being transparent, like shows up at the house and I'm like looking through it. Um, I'm just being transparent. You know, it's like, it's a
Yeah.
pretty cool accomplishment.
Yeah.
Um,
Big time.
I was really thinking about 2010 Trey. And, you know, $93,000 in debt, on food stamps, standing in the food stamp line. And my wife looking at me saying, you know, the way I see it, we don't really have much else to lose. So if we're ever going to bet on you, I think now's about the safest time to do it, because we don't got anywhere else to go. And just all of the support, all of the incredible opportunities, you know, the Lord's kindness just on my life, and being willing to run through the door. Like when the door opened up, I'm like, I'll be your huckleberry. I'm coming. We're going to figure it out. And, you know, not to take for granted the fact that I also got introduced and surrounded by a ton of talented people along the way. It's not like it was just the Trey show everywhere I went. There was always other people there, learning from those people, teaching those people, like these really great back and forth relationships. So anyways, the Compass Method, it came out soft launch a couple of weeks ago. What I would tell people about it, if you're thinking about reading it, it's for people that really fundamentally want to understand how to use sales and marketing to grow a business in the modern age. And the modern age being primarily the AI driven age that we live in right now, but more just an internet first, digital first sort of exposure to how marketing works. The full version, I say the paperback version, the like scale version, doesn't come out till January, late January on Amazon. But it was a joy to write. I'm so excited about what it's going to do because it's more of a, I kind of call it a field guide, almost even a textbook, more than it is like a feel good kind of a business book, because it's the plays. It's the plays that I would run. It's exactly how I would do it. Didn't hold anything back. As any great marketer, I added in a bonus chapter at the end that, will let people know where to find me if they're interested in getting my help to do it. But they really can get that book, do what it says in the first 12 chapters, and actually build a plan that I'm very, very confident will help their business grow. Obviously, there's no perfect marketing out there. I don't bat 1,000%. Things don't always go well, but all of the times that I've seen it work, it's worked because of these steps. So I'm really confident in the steps and the framework. And if you're in the business space, the marketing space, the sales space, if you're a founder or you're young and you want to understand what would it look like and think like to function as a modern CMO, a chief marketing officer of an organization, that is what the book is written to do, is to teach people how to install a system for marketing and sales inside of the organization today that I'm very confident is going to get the job done with growing the business.
Man, thank you for sharing all of that. Cause again, I've seen a lot of this on your post on LinkedIn, and just been like, it's just cool to see people doing amazing things, and see people's stories of overcoming some of those challenges. I mean, dude, not everyone, I can't even fathom like being in your situation, married, food stamps, and then like today running your own company that's crushing it. Um, it's just, it's cool to see people succeed and be so humble about it and be like, dude, here's what I did. Like this, and I'm so blessed. And here, and you're giving back. You're sharing that to help encourage others. Um, my next question is kind of like specifically your book and about how you wrote it. With how much you have going on, hobbies, kids, wife, company, what was your process like to write it? Did you have to carve out early morning hours, random hours? Like, what was it
And
like to actually sit down, put pen to paper, and get all this organized?
I only actually typed about 25% of it.
Yeah,
I rucked and dictated the book into an app called Whisper Flow, which is phenomenal dictation
you
typing,
talk it out.
and got the chapters. I got the chapters 85 or 90% there spoken. If
Yeah,
you end up getting one of the books, you're going to see there's a lot of diagrams, because it's a textbook more than it's
yeah.
like a feel good book. It's a this is what you're going to do. Pull this up on your computer. This is what you're about to build. This is how you're going to do so all of those parts I had to be sitting at a computer. But even then, I would literally voice dictate what I
Uh,
wanted the diagram to be, and then I would just send the file to my designer, and she would go in and make, like, does it look like this, Trey, in your mind's eye? Or I'd get on my whiteboard and I'd draw it on my whiteboard, because I am not I cannot do anything creative on a computer whatsoever. I'm a words and ideas and strategy guy.
I'm the
I am
same
not a
way.
like make it pretty. That's not me. So I just
Yeah,
draw on my whiteboard, like, no, it looks like this. Make it look like this. She like, great, I got it. She'd make it look like that. So I'm rucking in the mornings at 5 a.m., 45 minutes, like doing a chapter. I would do about when I got serious about it. So I had three chapters done in a year, and then from May to the end of July, I wrote the rest of the book. But I
yeah,
wrote the rest of the book by walking and talking,
yeah.
taking the file, cleaning the file up, and getting it into a transcription of what I said, taking 45 minutes or an hour to go back through and fix the little blurb, all that kind of a stuff, and kind of get it in there. And then just happen to have a buddy who's just a phenomenal copy editor. He would go right behind me and kind of clean it up. And then once I had all 13 chapters done, and I had all the what I call the artifacts in there, like the supporting diagrams and everything in the main manuscript, I did go out and hire a professional, like, book binding copywriting company. So the only things I've spent on the book other than my own time is I paid a couple $1,000s to a designer to do the cover and all the artifacts and everything inside. And then I paid a couple of $1,000s to a shop that's like a print ready copy editing shop that just goes through for grammar and syntax, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. Multiple times the guy called me like, I have no idea what you're talking about because I don't understand any of this stuff. It sounds great, it sounds believable, but there wasn't a comma here. I'm going to go back and rewrite this a little bit and make it a little clearer. Is that okay? It's stuff like that. But yeah, man, I mean, so I would say 89% of it is me. 11% is, a copywriter and kind of coming in. And there's the really cool, like, and I say this in the book, like in the preface for the book, and there were core parts of it where it's like, I couldn't figure out how to clearly notate what I was seeing in my mind for how to visualize just things that I'm just being transparent, like just the way my gift works when I look at something. And I'm like, that was where AI really helped me. Cause then I would go to AI and say, this is what I'm trying to communicate and describe. And I would take doodles of things and literally load the doodles into ChatGPT or Claude. And it would come back and say, oh, you could make the metaphor. There's this other tool I use called Napkin that's great at taking word pictures and turning it into visuals. So, I mean, that is where, and that saved me months of time of it just being to be like, yes, that's exactly, how did you do that? That's what I see in my head. Yeah, that's what we need to put in the book. So, I call out in the preface of the book that I used an AI tool from a dictation standpoint to clean so I could just walk and talk at normal speed. And it was, if you don't use Whisper, by the way, it's phenomenal. Great app. And then from there it was the process. And then AI again would come in to support the diagrams that were a little fuzzy that the designer couldn't get off the bat. So again, 88% me, 12% other people, and was able to get it done in 11 weeks. The other first 3 chapters last year, 9 chapters in 11 weeks. Once I had the manuscript done, copywriting was in August. Book cover and book binding was done in September. And then I use a site called Lulu, which is like you can set your own print demand stuff up. And then 150 books showed up the first week of October. And I've already sent 119 of them out, which is crazy. And then what we're doing in January is it's a bigger, you would think I'd have brought a book up here so I could show it. It's a 7x10. It's a bigger book because it has full page diagrams in it, and I needed people to be able to see them and use them.
Yeah.
But you can't put a 7x10 book on Amazon. It's the wrong kind of shelf space and storage space. They won't let you do a print on demand model. So we're redesigning the Amazon version. Will be paperback, and it'll be a typical size of a paperback book, it's like just a typical size of a paperback book. And then everywhere in the book where there is a diagram that you're supposed to see, there will be a QR code where you'll go to my website to download the diagram. So that way the marketer in me, if I'm on Amazon, I'm still getting your email address. You're still, coming into my funnel even when you do it. Even trying to think about the inner workings of, so the plan is audiobook and paperback will come out like the 4th Tuesday of January is kind of when we're slotted right now. And then we got some other things. We got some other fun things planned for next year too, off the back of the brand. I'm working on some technology, a technology piece right now related to the Compass Method. My vision long-term now, Chris, it's crazy. And I'll be honest with you, I'm completely, if what I'm about to say could never happen, and I'm going to live with the most gracious and grateful heart like ever of being able to just live this very charmed experience that I've had professionally. It's been a cool ride. It's been hard, but it's been a cool ride. But yeah, I mean, I worked on a campaign earlier this year, for a client, and some people saw the commercials that I wrote and produced, and, were like, who wrote and produced these commercials? Like, we want to know more, which they called me up, and they are, they're investment guys. And then they were like, how did you do the research to know that message would cut through the way that it did? And I was like, oh, I've got this method. And then now I'm talking about the method. And so, yeah, man, now there's some people that are really excited about scaling the Compass Method process out as a technology offering. Our long-term vision now going forward is to have the Compass Method, which is called CMOS, the Compass Method Operating System, to be the sales and marketing equivalent of EOS, which is the Entrepreneur Operating System, which from the book called Traction. So what Traction is to EOS, the Compass Method would be to CMOS. And we're actually going to try and build out like a growth operating engine for companies that we're going to call GAS for your business. Growth as a service instead of software as a service, but it puts a gas in your business. Yeah.
Dude, let's go. That's awesome. I'm like,
It's
man,
pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's pretty
yeah.
cool.
I'm not even like a marketing guru, but you got me charged up over here. Let's go. You can
Oh
tell
man,
we
it's
like you
fun.
can tell you we like ball and high energy just stuff because I'm over here like, dude, keep preaching, man. What's next? uh,
Well, and I would encourage you. You started the pod by saying, like, encouraging guys to re-listen to me, man. I'm just again, I'll play the vulnerable card. You know, I got more friends in the pages of books than I do in real life. Like, and I'm not saying I'm necessarily proud of that side of me. I have been really hard to know for a lot of years. Either you were in my family, and because you were in my family, you knew me, or you follow me online. Let's be transparent. You know the side, the version of me that I put out on the internet, which I really do try and be the full, authentic version of me out there. But nobody's perfect at it. Um, and then the version of me that serves clients or leads people inside of Herald. But really, outside of that, occasional round of golf or serving in my
yeah,
local church, like I don't really have a ton of friends. And I will say that's been my one major regret. I've had to balance this stigma. I don't, maybe there's a better word for it, but I think it's a stigma of like when you do what I do. I'll just say it this way. It's been my experience, at least. When you do what I do, other men tend to want to know you because of what you can do for them.
yeah,
Either an investment that you might know about, or a business that they have ownership in that they want to grow, or they want a job, right? Like, or they want your advice on how to grow. Most of the time it's like, I don't want to pay you for your advice. I just want your advice on this thing.
yeah,
And I'm gonna be honest with you, man, it gets really, really, really old.
yeah,
When that's all you're known for, when it's like, man, there's a lot more under the hood. And so I will tell you, it got so hard for so long that I kind of just gave in and said, well, if that's all I'm going to be known for, it is what it is. And I've been doing a lot of soul work this year, especially of like, I also share with you before we started recording the pod, like I've moved a lot, which means I haven't really been anywhere long enough to put roots down with people too, really get to know them. So that part's on me, so in some ways I've been hard to know because of that too. But man, part of what I hope, honestly, and it's maybe this is like a weird backdoor kind of hope, but I really hope to pick up some people that I can mentor and be mentored by because of the book, because
yeah,
of like what the book is going to serve. And I really would encourage your listeners. Books were my mentors. They are my mentors still right now. I'm trying to be better about having actual mentors and mentees at the same time, because I think that's actually the best season, the highest seasons of growth in my life were when I had an active mentor and I was mentoring at the
mhm,
same time. I call it the mentorship sandwich, like when that was happening. But I will tell you, there's been plenty of seasons of my life where that's been books and podcasts and
yeah,
events, and just keeping learning. Even this year, man, I think I read the most profound business book I've ever read in my entire life this year, and I haven't even finished it yet. I got to like the 6th chapter, and I was like, you know what? If I don't do what chapters 3, 4, and 5 and 6 say, the rest of them, I should just stop until I do these things. And that's the amazing thing about when people take time to show you the way, through their books. And I would encourage your especially the young folks, like, don't get lost in the digital sprawl of the
mhm,
easy answer questions to ChatGPT or whatever it is. Like, do the hard thing of reading books. You can't see it in here, but I've got 4 bookshelves in my office full of books. um, I was a 50 book a year guy from like 2012 to about 2021, 2022. I got a little tired, after that I've slowed down. I'm
yeah,
more like 10 or 12 a year now. But man, books are a cheat code. I mean, at the end
yeah,
of the day, they are an absolute cheat code. Especially when you can find one in your niche, like in your area where it's like, I trust that person. Man, you can just learn so much. Like, I'm learning a lot from a guy named Dan Martell right now. He's kind of a business strategy guy. He's sort of the kind of guy I want to be when I grow up, is what I would say. He's probably only 5 or 6, 7 years older than me. He's not that much older than me, but I just really respect, I wish he used different language sometimes, but other than that, I really respect what he's built, how he builds, his transparency. And the cool thing is I've never met Dan. I've never shook Dan's hand. I've never been in the same room, but I feel like I know Dan because I've read his books. I listen to his podcast, and there's times that I'm going like, I wonder what Dan would do. It's the same way I can actually. It's different. Like I know Dave. Like I've been
Yeah,
in Dave's house. Like I've hung out with Dave
that's
multiple
cool.
times. With
Yeah,
cigars and bourbon and like the whole thing, like multiple times over years. Um, and, but in some ways, I still feel like I know Dan, but I've spent way more time with Dave. You know what I'm saying? But it's because of his writing. So I would just
yeah,
encourage wherever you are, whatever industry you're in, doesn't matter. Books have no they have no strongholds. They have strongholds on every industry is actually the way I would say it. Like there's not an industry out there you can't learn from. So
yeah,
I'm grateful to contribute in one little small way to that idea by having put
yeah,
my experiences down in a book. Um, but I'm so glad you're doing this podcast because I think we can cheat. I love podcasts too, don't get me wrong, but I think there's something about holding a book in your lap and sitting with
100%.
it, putting it down and picking it back up again when it hits you in the face. And it's the same way, as a person of faith, I treat God's word. It's the same way. It's like, oh
Yep,
man, I don't do well in that area. Oh, that's convicting. It's like the same thing. So I think it's one of the most shaping
yep,
disciplines that you
yep,
can learn to just sit in. Plus, we just need to put these bad boys down way more often than we do, and just enjoy life and breathing
yeah,
and being quiet. And yeah, so
yeah. No, that's exactly it, man, and that's kind of our purpose too. You're talking about like the people that you are interested in learning from and following. That's kind of our mission too, is to get guys books that they're actually interested in, to kind of get that curiosity going to where, hey, instead of getting on Instagram or X or whatever, you're interested in what you're learning and reading, and hopefully that'll like a snowball effect, almost like Dave Ramsey. You read something you like, that'll lead to something else, and that continuous growth and knowledge chasing. 'Cause that's kind of my story. I didn't really like reading personally for enjoyment till really post college. But then because I was always told what to read, and I really wasn't interested in what I was told what to read. But once I started reading biographies about athletes, then that led to leadership books and then finance books, and I was like, "Dang, I wish I'd have read these like 6, 8 years ago. I would have learned a lot," you know? If someone would have given me this
uh-huh.
book that I was actually interested in, man, I would have probably ate that up and read a lot more, um, but no, that kinda led me to my last question for you, Trey, and I ask everybody this that's been on the podcast, and you should at least have one if you've got 4 bookshelves next to you, but I always ask,
Yeah.
what's a book, and it could be multiple, that has had a impact on you personally, professionally, and what's a book that you like to recommend to others if they come to you for a recommendation?
Yep. I got two. These are the two. I talk about these two books. I've probably been asked this question 300 times. It's the same two books. It used to be a different book, and then it got replaced by a book that I read this year. So, one of the greatest books I think you can read, specifically, you should read it when you're in like late teens, early 20s. I read it when I was in my maybe mid 30s because of when it came out. It's called Range, and it's a sports based book
Cool.
about how the greatest athletes of all time, when you look at their childhood and their rearing and their upbringing, they played more than one sport. They
Yeah.
developed range athletically, and because they had range when they went to go specialize, they were able to be really, 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 really elite at that thing that they do in their specialty. And man, the same thing is true professionally. Like I do fundamentally believe you should try and control your range of experiences when you're developing so you can learn from a wide area and then figure out kind of what your specialty is. I used to say first be a specialist, then be a generalist. So when the right opportunity comes, you could be a capitalist. And now I actually switch and I say first be a generalist, then be a specialist. So when the right opportunity comes, you can be a capitalist. And that book really reshaped a lot of my thinking about it.
Yeah.
And the second one is Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. It's the greatest business book I've ever read. It's not flashy. It's really simple, but just anybody that's going to get in the business world, particularly the ownership side of the business world, his method that he teaches you about how to literally buy your time back, about building a minimum effective rate on your own time and on working from margin inside of your business
Yeah.
unlocks such a profound thing in me about how I thought about value and time. Because at the end of the day, a business can only be successful as consistent as profits are, or else it's going to go out of business. Like that's the game of business. And I've heard the quote, maybe you've heard it before, that revenue is vanity and profit is sanity. And it's like, as someone that was building a pretty hyper growth revenue company, I'm getting to the end of the month, everyone's going like, well, this is weird. Like, what, why are we, man? And so, man, that book was just like, oh my gosh, rightfully so. I totally get how to manipulate the top line. That's what I've been asked to do my entire career. And now I'm going, oh my gosh, I had never had the responsibility to manage the bottom line before until I started this company. And man, it just wrecked me. It's still wrecking me. It's so good.
Yeah.
But those would be the two. Range. I don't know why I can't. I was trying to stall to think of the author's name, but we'll figure it out. Put it in the show notes. I don't know why I
Yeah.
can't think of his name right now. And then Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I haven't read either of those. I'll add them to my list. They sound like books that I would enjoy and benefit learning a lot from. I'm sure a lot of people will. So definitely, um, it's cool. I'm always interested in what people are reading because someone will go off the radar with something. I'm like, really? And then others seem to make more sense. Seem to align more. But no,
Sure.
I mean, Trey, thank you again so much for doing this. And keep doing what you're doing because guys like me obviously notice, and there's a lot of me's following you out there that are just cheering for you, your family. Feel like I know Bear. I saw your daughter's post with her soda cans. I'm like cheering for them. I'm cheering for your whole family. But man, just keep posting things, keep doing what you're doing, keep having an impact, and man, can't wait to share this episode. 'Cause I know a lot of people are gonna be interested in again take something away from it. So man, just really appreciate your time and just man, just keep going, man. Keep
Okay.
going.
Hey, my pleasure, man. And I'm coming to East Nash, and we're gonna go to the pharmacy and get us a burger
Hey,
and hang out.
we'll get us
So
a
we'll do it.
burger after we play a round of golf.
No, even better.
Yeah.
Even
Awesome, man. Well,
better. I
appreciate
love
it,
it.
Trey.
Thanks for having me on, buddy. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Take care.